My mother-in-law locked me in the bathroom when I went into labor at her daughter's wedding because she didn't want me to steal the spotlight. I woke up in the hospital hours later. My husband Rick and I had a daughter 2 weeks ago. It's our first child, and naturally, we're thrilled. Right now, life is absolutely hectic, and we're just getting used to being parents. It's not easy for either of us, but we're doing our best. We have little help, mostly because of what happened the day our daughter May was born. That day became one of the most traumatic experiences of my life. I don't think I'll ever be able to forget it. Even the joy of welcoming May doesn't erase the paralyzing fear I experienced. Honestly, if Rick hadn't shown up when he did, I don't know if I would have made it. Rick has 2 younger sisters, Anna, 28, and Emma, 24. I have a good relationship with both, and I don't believe there's any animosity between us. We're not extremely close, since we're all busy with our careers and don't see each other often. Emma even lives in a different city, but we try to stay in touch through phone calls and occasional messages. Another important figure in Rick's family is my mother-in-law, Rachel, 53. Unlike with Anna and Emma, my relationship with Rachel is very different. We just don't get along, and I don't believe it's my fault. She seems to have a difficult relationship with everyone around her. Rachel is the definition of a controlling, hysterical person who never stops pushing. Everything has to go her way, according to her whims and desires. All 3 of her kids mostly go along with what she wants. She raised them alone after their father left, and they try to make life easier for both her and themselves. If anyone dares to want something different than what she wants, her reaction ranges from disapproval and whining to full-blown tantrums with tears and screaming. Dealing with her is exhausting, so I try to keep my distance. Rick understands this. He knows his mother is difficult, so he lets me interact with her only as much as I feel comfortable. I respect his relationship with her, despite her controlling behavior, and I don't interfere. She doesn't particularly like me, so she keeps her distance too, and that arrangement works for everyone. But a few days ago, everything spiraled out of control and Rachel was entirely to blame. I don't think I'll ever be able to forgive her. The day I went into labor was also Anna's wedding day. It was a beautiful ceremony, and her husband John is one of Rick's close friends. He proposed to her about a year ago, and Anna asked me to be one of her bridesmaids. I agreed. However, after Rick and I found out I was pregnant, I had to ask her to choose someone else. I knew I wouldn't be able to manage the responsibilities. That conversation happened about 6 months after the proposal, around 6 months before the wedding. I was in my 3rd month of pregnancy at the time. I expected her to be upset about me stepping back, but I knew I had to set my priorities. I was really nervous before talking to Anna. I was afraid it would ruin our relationship forever. But to my surprise and relief, she was overjoyed when I told her about the pregnancy. She even forgot about the wedding for a moment. When I said I wouldn't be able to serve as bridesmaid, she simply said, "The most important thing is that you're okay." She even considered moving the wedding date because she didn't want me to miss it, something that might have happened if May had arrived earlier. In the end, she kept the date for many reasons, and honestly, she didn't need to move it at all. Emma stepped in as the maid of honor, and I understood that both sisters were busy with wedding preparations, so I tried not to bother them too much, even though my pregnancy was difficult. Still, they stayed in touch, visited me, and helped a lot. I feel guilty for not being able to support Anna more on her big day, even though she supported me throughout. The only person who was unhappy with the situation was my mother-in-law. I think she was annoyed that I could no longer be a bridesmaid, which caused some planning issues. That seemed like the only logical explanation, and I could understand that, but her hostility continued even after Anna accepted my decision without any hard feelings. The bride wasn't angry, but Rachel suddenly became cold and unfriendly toward me. It was strange, but I thought maybe I was just overreacting from pregnancy hormones, or that Rachel was just stressed out about the wedding. I tried not to read too much into it. I ignored her as best I could, and everything seemed mostly fine. That is, until the wedding day itself, when everything went completely out of control, both literally and figuratively. That was 2 weeks ago, and I was about to give birth. My legs were terribly swollen, my belly was huge, and I felt like I might faint at any moment. But I still wanted to attend the wedding because Anna wanted me there. I even asked her in advance if she really wanted me at the ceremony because I didn't want to take attention away from her. I explained that a visibly pregnant woman might shift guests' attention, and I didn't want that. The wedding day is for the bride and groom, and I didn't want to be the one to ruin it. When I told her this, she was genuinely upset. She couldn't believe I was worried about such nonsense and didn't want to come. She said she didn't care about attention or stares. All she wanted was her family around her on her special day. She insisted that I absolutely had to attend and shouldn't worry about any drama. I knew she meant it. She's not the kind of person who hides her feelings. If she hadn't wanted me there, she would have said so. But she did clearly, and I felt it was my duty to be by her side. So, despite the physical discomfort, I knew I had to support her. Not gonna lie, many guests were whispering behind my back, but I tried to ignore it. I knew Anna was happy to see me, and that was all that mattered. Rachel barely spoke to me and kept shooting me glares the whole evening. But I felt so unwell, I couldn't be bothered to care. I simply didn't have the energy to deal with her passive-aggressive behavior, so I just ignored it. Let her stare all she wants. I wasn't going to react. And then the main event happened, something that shocked and traumatized not only me, but all the guests. I started feeling unwell shortly before the ceremony began. I had already seen Anna, so I got up and went upstairs, hoping it would help me feel better, and then I planned to come back down. I didn't even notice that Rachel had followed me. I felt hot and strange, so I went into the bathroom, and that's when my water suddenly broke. It was a real flood. I panicked. My daughter had chosen the worst possible time to be born. I was in complete shock, and luckily I saw my mother-in-law nearby. At that point, I was already doubled over in pain. She ran up to me, and I told her to take my phone and immediately call Rick. We needed to go to the hospital right away. She helped me sit on the toilet, and I handed her my phone. And that's when she snapped. She said she would only call Rick after the ceremony was over, in about an hour, because she didn't want me to steal Anna's spotlight. I asked her if she had lost her damn mind and told her I couldn't wait that long. I tried to snatch the phone back, but she locked me in the bathroom and took the phone with her daughter. So there I was, very pregnant, literally going into labor, locked in a bathroom, sitting on the toilet with no phone and no husband. I don't know how I didn't have a full-blown panic attack, thank God, because I don't even want to imagine what could have happened. I somehow stood up, went to the door, and started banging on it like crazy. I screamed and screamed and screamed, but the bathrooms were on the second floor, and all the guests were already seated downstairs, so no one heard me. I screamed until I lost my voice. No one came. In that moment, I truly thought I was going to die and take my child with me. I was exhausted, soaking wet, sweating like a pig, and completely voiceless. That's the last thing I remember. I don't know what happened next. I passed out from exhaustion. I don't even remember how I got to the hospital. I just know I ended up there somehow. I woke up several hours later in a hospital bed. Rick was sitting beside me, sobbing. It took me a few seconds to realize where I was. When I saw Rick crying, I feared the worst. I immediately remembered everything, how Rachel had locked me in the bathroom, my screams, and I thought May hadn't made it. When Rick saw I had woken up, he breathed a huge sigh of relief and collapsed into my arms, sobbing. I didn't know how to take it. A cold chill ran through me. Then a nurse came in holding a baby girl, and I finally breathed again. Honestly, I wanted to slap Rick in that moment for scaring me like that, but he said it wasn't intentional. He had just been terrified and overwhelmed. When he found me in the bathroom, I was unconscious. I held my daughter for the first time, and I don't think I'll ever forget that feeling. I'm not sure anything in life can top that. I don't think I'll ever feel emotions stronger than I did in that moment. Rick didn't go into much detail right away, and I'm grateful for that. I simply didn't have the strength to process it all. I heard some noise outside the hospital room and asked what was happening. He said his mum Rachel was outside and wanted to come in to see her granddaughter. I told him everything what she had done, how she endangered our daughter for no reason. I said I would never allow her near my child, ever. As far as I'm concerned, she no longer exists. Rick said he already knew. When he found me in that state, she broke down and confessed everything. I told him that the fact she confessed everything didn't mean I was going to forgive her. He laughed and said that from that moment on, his mother was dead to him too, and that he was going to report her to the police for endangering both my life and our daughters. He said he would act within the law and make sure she was held accountable for what she had done. When I heard that, it felt like a huge weight had been lifted from my shoulders. I know he loves his mother. All three of them do. But after what she did, putting both me and our baby in danger, I had no intention of ever forgiving her. If Rick had chosen her over me, our marriage would have been over. There would be no way back. Honestly, I expected he might choose his mother. Despite everything, she did put a lot of effort into raising them. Maybe I didn't expect him to side with me so firmly, but I'm certainly not complaining. Quite the opposite, in fact. I love him even more now, if that's even possible. I asked how the wedding went, and he said everything went well. Emma and Anna were already waiting for his call so they could come visit us. I asked if Anna was angry, and he laughed and told me I had nothing to worry about. Anna had been glowing with pride and joy, saying that her whole family had been present at the wedding, and that May's birth was the best gift she could have received. When he said that, tears welled up in my eyes, and I asked him to call them immediately. Just a few minutes later, Anna, Emma, and John were in the hospital room with me. The sweetest part, Anna and John were still in their wedding outfits. Anna said there was no way she was going to miss the chance to take a wedding photo with her niece. I burst into tears. It was an incredibly touching moment. After we took the photo, I apologized to Anna for ruining her day. She hugged me and told me I was looking at it all wrong, that I had made her day special. I told her everything about what the mother-in-law had done, starting from the moment we announced the pregnancy. Anna said my only mistake was not telling them everything sooner. Maybe then they could have stopped the drama before it went so far. I said I didn't want to cause problems, to which Emma chimed in and said that no problem in the world mattered as long as I was safe. I'm crying again even as I write this, because that was the moment I realized they truly loved me like real family. To them, I wasn't just their brother's wife, I had become someone truly dear to them. Anna is one of the best people I know. She's so confident, happy, and self-sufficient. I honestly don't understand how Rachel can be the complete opposite of her children. It's as if they looked at her and decided exactly the kind of people they didn't want to become. It's strange, but I don't care. Everything was perfect. My mother-in-law was still outside. And as it turned out, Anna had told her at the door that she would personally make sure Rick and I pressed charges. Rachel wanted to come in and see May, but I didn't want her anywhere near me. Anna said we needed to keep our distance from her for our own safety. Anna apologized to me, saying that maybe she should have noticed her mother's overbearing behavior earlier or made it clearer that my pregnancy had never been a problem for her. She thought maybe that could have prevented all of this. I told her that she had always made me feel safe, and what happened was absolutely not her fault. Meanwhile, Rick had been outside talking to his mother when May and I were discharged. A couple of days later and came home. Rick told me what they'd talked about. He told her he was filing charges and that she could go to hell because his decision was final. He also told her that she would never be allowed in May's life. She was no longer her grandmother in any way. She had chosen to put my life and our unborn baby's life at risk over some imagined offense that had nothing to do with her. He also told her that the money he'd been giving her because she was living off Rick and Emma would be cut significantly. At that point, she started crying, saying she had worked her whole life for her children and didn't deserve to be treated this way. Rick told her he understood and appreciated everything she had done for them, but that didn't give her the right to control their lives. He said she was wrong, and for years he had turned a blind eye and tried to justify her behavior, but that time was over. When it came to me and May, she crossed a line and showed how dangerous she truly was, especially considering that Anna had zero problems with my labor. Rachel said that, as a mother, she understood that Anna wouldn't have wanted me to ruin her day. When Anna heard that, she absolutely tore into her. So yes, we're definitely pressing charges against Rachel. But Rick will handle everything because I have a newborn to care for and I want no part of that drama. Rick said he'd take care of it. None of her children want to talk to her now. Anna has completely cut ties with her. Emma only speaks to her when absolutely necessary. And Rick and I, of course, have gone fully no contact. I don't think Rachel expected things to turn out this way. Maybe she genuinely thought she was doing what was best for Anna, though that logic is twisted beyond belief. I'm not trying to justify her, absolutely not, but a part of me still feels sorry for her. She clearly didn't expect it all to go so terribly wrong. Now I wonder whether they should try talking to her, because total silence feels wrong somehow. I don't know, maybe I'm not thinking clearly, but I know that if I even mention this to Rick, he'll lose it. He's furious and can't even look at his mother right now. I never imagined it would end like this, but here, We are, update one well, any chance of reconciliation is now permanently off the table. I know I haven't posted updates in a while, but I'm a brand new mum, which means I've been busy just trying to keep myself and the baby alive. The good news is, May will be 8 weeks old in a few days, and we are all incredibly happy. Anna and her husband John are absolute angels. They've been helping Rick and me so much. Emma had to go back to work, but she calls almost every day. May has literally become the light of everyone's life. We all adore her, and our group chat is flooded with her pictures. We haven't had any contact with my mill. I convinced Rick not to press charges because we already have our hands full, and dragging her to court would have been pointless. Rick didn't want to let it go at first, but eventually agreed because none of us had the energy for it. When we told my mill last week, she seemed grateful. I say seemed because that woman is clearly not well. Last week, she showed her true colors again. That night, Rick and I woke up around AM to someone banging on the front door. I thought we were being robbed, so I ran to hide with May while Rick went to answer. I heard yelling but didn't dare go out. I didn't want to wake the baby. Turns out it was my mill. According to Rick, she was completely unhinged, screaming that she wanted to see May and that we had no right to keep her away. Rick had to threaten to call the police before she finally left. She literally tried to force her way into the house. We immediately told Anna and Emma because if something was wrong with her, they needed to know. We were scared, but as it turns out, not nearly scared enough. The next day, Rachel sent us a disturbing message. She started off by saying we were awful and cruel for not letting her see May and that we were punishing her, that her only crime was being a mother. Then the message devolved into melodramatic nonsense. Bit by bit, it became more unhinged. She went on about how hard it was to raise 3 kids, constantly balancing their needs. She claimed she was just doing that again on May's birthday, that she didn't want May to take the spotlight from Anna. Of course, she conveniently forgot that May was still in the womb, and that Anna had repeatedly expressed that she was completely fine with my pregnancy and wedding overlapping. That part I could almost rationalize, but then she wrote something that made my stomach turn. She admitted she was afraid that with May's arrival, she wouldn't be as important to her children anymore. When I announced my pregnancy, she expected Anna to be angry because, in her words, a normal woman would have felt that way, but when she saw that all of us were happy about both the wedding and the pregnancy, it made her angry. She was upset that we were all happy together. She actually admitted that she wanted us to be jealous of each other, to compete, and when she realized May's due date was close to Anna's wedding, she hoped Anna would resent us so that attention wouldn't shift to the baby. But that didn't happen. Instead, everyone was talking about May. She said she felt humiliated that an unborn baby had taken her place as the one who used to unite her children. She kept going. The messages were long and unhinged. I asked Rick to block her and told him that his mother was mentally unstable and a danger to May and to all of us. I've had a headache ever since reading those texts. I still can't believe a woman in her 50s is seriously competing with a 7-week-old baby. I can't wrap my head around it, and I shouldn't have to. I'm done. I'm done trying to understand her behavior or justify her motives. She can go to hell. I don't care anymore. We forwarded her messages to Anna and Emma, and they were horrified too. They suspect she might be having a manic episode. Emma said she's flying out and plans to take her mum to a clinic for an evaluation. I think that's the right move, but I'm staying out of it. This behavior is way beyond acceptable, and I want nothing more to do with her. Update 2. We obtained a restraining order against my mother-in-law. She hasn't attempted anything else since, but we're still being cautious. Emma took her for an evaluation and spoke with both a psychologist and a psychiatrist. The results showed that she is mentally stable. She was diagnosed with generalized anxiety disorder, and that's it. The doctors said there's no medical reason for her behavior and advised Emma to send her to therapy. After that, Emma cut off contact with her. She said she was willing to help if there had been an actual illness, but it turns out that all the hatred and bitterness, that's just her personality. And Emma isn't going to put up with it anymore. I fully understand and support her decision. Maybe I would have felt sympathy and supported my mother-in-law after a few months if we had learned she had a mental disorder. But now that it's been ruled out, we understand that this is simply who she is and there can be no reconciliation. That's why we pursued the restraining order. For Rick and me, safety comes first. And my mother-in-law has proven twice now that being around her is not safe. Even worse, she's clearly hostile toward May, so we need to be extra careful and make sure there's absolutely no contact between them. I think this is my final update, and I sincerely hope I'll never have to talk about this situation again. It's been deeply upsetting for the whole family, and I'm just grateful that we're all safe now. That's all for now. Thank you for listening to this story till the end. Don't forget to follow our channel and take care.